UFC 284 just wrapped up. Islam Makhachev versus Alexander Volkanovski. Hell of a card. I would say it was like a 7.5, 8 out of 10 card in my opinion. There was, I believe, 6 finishes and 7 decisions, or maybe that's the other way around. But it was honestly a great night of fights. I enjoyed it. I got a lot of my picks correct, so that definitely plays in a little bit into my enjoyment of the card. But I think for general MMA fight fans, I think everyone was happy with how this card turned out. But yeah, let's just get straight into the card, starting with the early prelim bout. Zubaira Tukhugov taking on Elvis Brenner in the lightweight division. Let's be real, guys. We all know who won that fight. It was Zubaira Tukhugov. Every round, probably. Maybe he lost one round, but I felt like this really showed what we were going to be in for when it came to the judges. It just started the night off with a horrible decision. They gave it to Elvis Brenner. I picked Zubaira by a decision, so I actually consider this a complete, like a real legitimate robbery, and I'm completely counting my win. We all know what we fucking saw. If you have eyes, you know who won that fight. But I think this is the best case scenario for the UFC because Elvis Brenner is, Charles Oliveira's teammate. He has a better record. He's fresh into the lightweight division, so we want to build our prospects. I feel like this is the best case scenario. He got experience. He got a decision he didn't deserve. Moving on into the featherweight division, we've got Shane Young taking on Blake Bilder. I took Blake Bilder by a decision, and he won by a decision. A unanimous one, I believe, every round. This is somebody that I'm really high on now. I didn't know much about Blake Bilder. He gained a fan last night, for sure. And I'm looking forward to see what he can do in the featherweight division. His grappling looked like it's easily top 5 level in that division already. His striking definitely needs some work, but I liked his movement. I liked his left hook. I liked his calf kick on the inside. All of that was solid. But yeah, man, Shane Young just looked like he was moving in mud next to Blake Bilder, to be completely honest. He just looked way slower and like a step behind. And I think he's probably going to get cut after this. Moving on into the women's strawweight division. Our first finish of the card, and it comes in the women's strawweight division. That's crazy to me, but I knew this fight was going to be a scrap. I predicted Loma to win by a decision or a TKO. She won by a submission in the second round. She lost the first round on all 3 of the judges' scorecards, and then she just came out there and wrapped up the choke on Elise Reed. It was nice. Her being a 5'1 fighter, I'm going to back her because she's tiny in that division. I think she is the smallest strawweight. So yeah, good win by Loma Lupun. Let's move up the card into the featherweight division. We had Jack Jenkins debuting against Don Shanis, who just debuted recently in October against Sadiq Yusuf. Yeah, man, Jack Jenkins just looked like he was more calculated in his combinations and in his striking attack in general. He was landing like 4-piece combinations, ending with a leg kick. You could definitely tell that he had the better striking. Don Shanis looked like he had the better conditioning. I know he's known for his cardio. He reminded me a lot of Ally Quinta. I don't know if you guys got that impression too, but I felt like Don Shanis was just like a spitting image of Ally Quinta. And I thought that was pretty cool. I think they're also both from Boston or like New York or that area. I don't know, man. But, it was a good fight. I predicted Jack Jenkins to win by a knockout. He got it done by a decision. So, yeah, we're perfect on the card right now. Perfect up the card, moving up the prelims. Moving up from the early prelims into the start of the prelims. We got Jamie Mullarkey taking on Francisco Prado. I thought Jamie Mullarkey would be able to get it done with a TKO in like the 3rd round. Kind of looked like it might trend towards that direction, but Francisco Prado just seemed like a tough undefeated prospect. And he's only the 2nd Argentinian fighter, I believe, after Santiago Ponzinibbio, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, Jamie Mullarkey gets it done by a decision, just looked sharper, obviously more, he looked like he was way more comfortable in there, being the fighter with way more experience, more fights, more octagon time, so it makes sense. But yeah, we're perfect on the prelims still. Moving on, Shannon Ross versus Clayton Rodriguez. I picked Clayton by a first round KO TKO, and he got a first round KO TKO. Just came out there throwing crazy shit, spinning shit, looking for the finish, ends up catching him with an uppercut, a hook, some other shit. This is somebody that you want to look out for in the flyweight division. Like I said in my prediction, dude's built like an action figure, and he just comes out scrapping. So, that's another one we get correct. Moving on, up into the second to last fight on the prelims, and this is the first fight that I was like really, really nervous for. Joshua Kulibau taking on Melsik Baghdasaryan. I felt like Melsik Baghdasaryan wins this fight 8 times out of 10. That's what I said in my prediction. But I was just going to ride on Joshua Kulibau's hype and him coming in, fighting in Perth, his hometown, his home country, having the support of the fans. And it seems like that's exactly what worked out in his favor, honestly. He got hit with a mean kick to the nuts at the beginning of the first round, or in like the middle of the first round. Took him a couple minutes to shake that off. Jumping in the second round, he gets taken down. No. He lands a jab, I'm sorry. And then Melsik kind of like slips. And Joshua Kulibau instantly jumps onto him, almost gets his forearm wrapped under his neck like instantaneously. And he finishes up the RNC pretty quickly after that, gets Melsik tapping. So that's another fight that I got correct. Moving up the prelims, we're undefeated so far. And this is where it all takes a turn for the worse. So now the first fight on the card is an example of complete robbery, and that's why I still counted the decision in my favor. Because anybody, like I said, anybody with eyes knows who won that fight. This is an example of the other way. You know, it was a close fight. Watching it live, I thought Tyson Pedro did enough to win the first 2 rounds, but Modestas got the decision, and I'm not mad at it, you know? Like, Tyson looked like he gassed out after 2 minutes of the first round. I don't know if he was sick, if he was undertrained, overtrained, what. Like, I don't know what happened to him there, but yeah, that was an unfortunate fight. I feel like he could have easily won that if he had more conditioning. Or if he just had better conditioning, to be completely honest. Modestas just looked like he had more energy, and he would enter and exit exchanges looking like he was the fresher of the fighters, fresher of the two, and I feel like that's probably what gave him the decision in the judges' eyes. I don't know. I'd have to rewatch it to really be able to tell. But yeah, that finishes out the prelims. I believe it was an 8-fight prelim, 9-fight prelim. I don't remember how many exactly, but I got all of them but one in there, so pretty good. Usually I get the prelims perfect, so I'm glad I can continue that streak. Now moving on to the main card, and we're going to continue this bad luck streak. I went with Jimmy Crute by a sub, and it looked like that was what was going to happen in the first round and even at points in the second and third. But man, Jimmy Crute, the time off must have fucked with him or something, because he looked just like our last fighters. He looked like he was gassing out for no fucking reason, like way too early. He was doing a lot of extra shit on the ground that I felt like he didn't need to do. He got dropped by Alonzo Menefield in the first 2 rounds, and then Alonzo grabbed the cage in the third and lost a point, and that made it so they got a split or a majority draw. Yeah, so bummer. Another fight down, not predicted correctly. But it was a good scrap, not in terms of like how technical it was, but just in terms of watching 2 people that are gassed just go for it and see who has the better conditioning, who wants it more. So yeah, you know, good fight. They said they're going to run it back. I don't mind watching that again, so whatever. But yeah, moving on up the main card into the heavyweight division, we got Justin Tafa taking on Parker Porter. I went with Justin Tafa by a first round KO. He got one within a minute. Just caught him with a hook as he was coming in. Nothing much more to say about it. It's exactly what I thought was going to happen. Probably what most people thought was going to happen. He's like the reincarnation of Mark Hunt. He's just getting them walk-off KOs. It was perfect. Now, up the card into the welterweight division, the feature fight of the main card, Jack Della Maddalena taking on Randy Brown. I went with Jack Della Maddalena by I believe, second round TKO. But he ends up getting it done in the first with a submission. He was kind of just stalking Randy Brown down for the first 2 minutes. Randy was actually looking like the better of the 2 fighters, just landing on the outside and staying at range. Then Jack catches him with one hook, makes him do a goofy ass face plant. Didn't know where the fuck he was. Then Jack gets on his back, sinks up the rear naked, and that's all she wrote. Yeah, it was tough, man. I mean, I like both of these fighters, but I just feel like Jack Della Maddalena is a different prospect, and he's showing it. 4 first-round finishes. Hyper aggro, beautiful boxing. I'm looking forward to seeing his next fight, because I'm sure it's going to be against a ranked opponent. But yeah, man, solid. We got 2 out of the 3 fights predicted on the main card. And I'm just going to tell you now, I don't get any more right. I picked Josh Emmett for our co-main event, and as you guys probably know, Yair won by a second-round submission with a fucking triangle choke. Man, he he just looked so fast. Those kicks were looking great. He would go up to the head to start and then switch to the body to get Josh thinking. He caught him a couple times to the body with a liver kick that like really hurt him. One time in particular almost looked like it shut Josh down. Josh caught him with his best punches, even dropped him at one point. Or like half dropped him. I don't know. You'd have to watch and determine for yourself. But he definitely got hit with a lot of that power and was rocked. Something about Yair, man. He's just like a Mexican god of war. Like I don't know. It's something else. If Volkanovski wasn't the champion in this division, I'd have a hard time seeing anybody else beating Yair, because I even think that he might be able to beat Max in a rematch. That fight was close. He gave Max a good run for his money. He did a lot of damage to the former champion. But yeah, man, Yair has finally claimed gold. He's the interim featherweight champion now, and I feel like he actually has a good shot against Volk. So it was a good fight. It was a good scrap. I'm glad we got to see him show up and add another finish to his reel, even though I wanted Josh Emmett to win, because it was my prediction. Now on to the main event of the night, Islam Makhachev taking on Alexander Volkanovski, and this is where, man, I'm about to go on a rant. This fight had me hot. First of all, my nerves were unlike any of the fights I've ever watched before. Like, that was the most nervous I've ever been for a fight. I could really feel the best in the UFC fighting each other. Like, I could feel that this is what I was watching, even if I didn't know. Even if they weren't telling me every 5 seconds in the broadcast. This is the number 1 pound for pound versus the number 2 in the first time of the UFC's history. I still would have known. I could just fucking feel it in my loins, you know? And I felt like you guys could too. My stomach was a knot. I was nervous for Volk, but he made me feel so proud of him as a fighter, man. I gained so much respect for Alexander Volkanovski. And I already had so much coming in for him, you know? I predicted him way back to beat Chad Mendes, to beat Jose Aldo, to beat Max Holloway, to go on the run that he went on. And, you know, seeing like where he's ended up so young in his career, starting mixed martial arts around like 24 or something like that, 23, 24. He has had so much less time in the octagon, on the mats, all that, than a majority of the fighters fighting in the UFC or in any promotion for that matter. And he's still better than 95% of them. Put some fucking respect on this man's name. I mean, I know everybody already is, but all these Dagestani fans, all these Khabib and Islam dick riders are so quick to be like, Volk fans are mad. They wanted him to win so bad. They're hating on Islam so bad they're blinded. They can't tell who won that decision. Nah, man, Volk won that fight 3-2. And I'm being generous, giving Islam 2 rounds guaranteed. Like, I could see arguments for 4-1 Volk. I watched the Weasels video. That shit was dog shit. We all knew going into it that he was going to be so fucking biased. It is crazy, like, how inconsistent he is with the strikes he counts. His mediums and heavies, all of us, 3 heavies for Islam in 1 round that for surely weren't heavies. But then we go to the fucking Jan Blachowicz versus Magomed Ankalaev fight, and Jan's landing leg kicks that are stopping Magomed in his tracks, and they're getting counted as mediums and lights. Like, Weasel, dude, your bias is ridiculously blinding. It's kind of crazy to see. That video got me even more fired up. I was already pissed off last night after the decision got through, because I really thought Volk did enough to win that fight. I didn't feel like Islam, like leaving that fight, I was not super impressed with Islam, like I usually am. There's the couple things that I was impressed with. His striking, for one. It looked good. Didn't look better than I expected it to be. He didn't neutralize Volk the way I was thinking he would to get a win. Clearly can't finish Volk. I can't see any realm where he finishes Volk. Ever. Really. It seemed like Volk was just so easily defending his ground control, his takedowns, his cage control, all of that. Like nobody else has. I genuinely left that feeling like Volk was the pound for pound best. I don't think Islam can go up to 170 and have half as good a fight with Khamzat or Leon or Kamaru as Volk can do going up in weight. So, you know, I felt like Volk maybe he wasn't robbed because it was a close fight, but it did kind of feel like that in the moment. I can't lie. I just felt like he won that shit, to be completely honest with you guys. But that's going to do it for my breakdown. If you guys don't know already, my channel is more about quick breakdowns, just getting you guys the info, you know, lickety split, and keeping you guys updated on what's going on in the MMA world, UFC world, fight world in general. There's a lot of other content creators that create long form content, something that you can like really sit and listen to for like an hour. I'm trying to find a middle ground, not super fast content, not super long in-depth content, just like right in the middle for people that are fans, but they're just trying to get their information more palatably, if that makes sense. But thank you guys for supporting my channel. It's been doing good lately. Let me know what you guys thought. I'm sure a bunch of people are going to come to Islam's defense. I'm sure a bunch of people will come to Volk's. I'm all here for all of it. So let me know what you guys thought in the comments below. Subscribe if you fuck with what I'm doing here. Drop a like. Yeah, I'll catch you guys. Peace out.